Hi, this is Introduction to Online Resources, another one of the JTools segments, and this is Professor Fote. On this website where this video is, you'll also see below it a list of links that we're going to go through and use throughout this session. So come along for the ride. When we think about online resources, when you go to a computer, you probably don't think about some of the resources you get are from the web and others are from library databases. And I have a question for you here at the start. Which is more valid? Which would you trust more? I'll pause and let you think. Most of you probably said you'd trust a library database, and on first blush that seems like the right answer. But just think about the New York Times and what's on page 2. Even library databases with media have problems and corrections. So you always want to be careful wherever you are on the web to double check and double source your figures. There was a big sign in, I think it was a Chicago newsroom many years ago, and it said, if your mother says she loves you, check it out. You always want to check information because a lot does get repeated wrongly. Generally, our rule in journalism is have at least 2 sources and have at least 2 disparate, different sources. So today we're going to look at about 10 resources that journalists often need. Quick references, if you want to background a story from media sources to get up to speed. If you're not sure about a topic or an issue and you want to get information before you interview someone. How to get information about a country. Backgrounding a business, including sports. Backgrounding well-known people. Statistics, polls, political facts, and how could you research media for that upcoming internship? So let's get going. First, we want to look at quick references. JTools is a great resource just for quickly checking a fact, getting a spelling, looking at some kind of quick ready reference. So take a moment, click that link, and see what you can find there, and then come back. The other resource here is the AP Style Guide, which is really helpful for a number of things. First of all, of course, to know your AP style. Is it 11 or spelled out? It's one way for print and web, it's another way for broadcast. How do you do numbers for broadcast? And how in the world do you say this guy's name? There's even a pronunciation guide there. Think of somebody's name who's in the news that you may not quite be sure about. Is it Putin or Putin? Check the AP Style Guide and you'll find a pronunciation section, or wander around there for a few moments. And be sure to make notes because your professor might ask you which sources you checked out. A second online resource is media that could be really helpful when you need to get some quick background on a Syracuse news story. So NCC News Online, the website where all BDJ students post, certainly might have some information about that story that you're doing, and getting up to speed by knowing what others have reported or knowing background or people's names could be really helpful. Another very good resource is the Post Standard or Syracuse.com. But I don't know about you, but I have a lot of trouble using the search function on Syracuse.com. So here's a fabulous tip I can give you. The library on campus has an electronic database of all the archives of the Syracuse newspaper. And I put the little star there because I think it's one of the best kept secrets around. Don't you suppose other reporters have written about this topic and you could go get background so you'd have a better interview or know which way to take a story? Try it out. Think of something that's in the news this week for which you suspect there's been coverage already in the Post Standard or Syracuse.com, and use the search box, put in some keywords. You can put in dates, looking the past week, the past 3 months, the past year. Be sure to make notes on what you do research and what you found, because your professor might be asking you for those notes. When you're finished, come on back. In addition to these local media, there are a lot of other newspapers that you might want to background stories from. Maybe there's a new company coming in. Maybe you want to find out what the local hometown paper of that college sports team that's going to be playing Syracuse is saying about its own team. So here at the library is a whole list of different ways to get access to newspapers online. And look at the quick links over at the right on this page. Another way to search news, it's just come back, is the Google News archive. This is also fabulous. So if you go to Google News You need to put in a search, so I'm going to look at New York State Fair. And this isn't intuitive, so watch. You go to Search Tools, and then Recent, and then you find the archives. Again, that's Search Tools, Recent, and Archives. Check it out with something that you'd like to get some background on. And again, make notes so you can report back to your prof. A third thing I'd like to share with you is how to background on a general topic. Maybe you've never covered domestic violence and you're doing a story about some of the domestic violence in the sports leagues. Credo reference or the CQ researcher can be really helpful just to give you a general orientation on a large topic. So check those out and see what you find. 4, let's say that you're going to interview an immigrant. Syracuse is known for being very hospitable and admitting a lot of refugees. Maybe you need to know something about Burundi, which is where several of our refugees have come from. Or maybe there's something related in the news that you don't feel quite up to speed on knowing about that country and need some quick help. The Economist magazine has a great website that, again, Bird Library has purchased for us to use as a reference. And you can either look for a country report. If you go there, be sure to click on Blue Report, or you can look for a country forecast. And here's a tip: when you get to the country forecast page, be sure to use the navigation over on the left. So try this out. Maybe you want to look at Liberia or Guinea, where there's been an Ebola crisis, or pick any country that's been in the news lately, and make some notes about what you find that you could put in a story or use when you're writing up your questions for interviewing. Here's my 5th tip: how to background a business. There are 2 online databases. The first is Mergent Online. It even has some private company information. I've put Carol's here. It's a very large Burger King franchise owner. Check on Mergent and see if you can find out who's the CEO for Carol's restaurant group, and then what he or she makes. Another thing your professor might ask you about, so check it out. You can also use Reference USA, and rather than have me give you the how-tos, just take a look at this 4-minute tutorial and then you'll be good to go. Okay, sports fans, there's also some great tips for how you would background a business in sports. And the librarians at Bird Library have put together a whole list of things, all kinds of databases that can help you with your sports story and getting in-depth information. The one I also want to report I understand is really good. Be sure to look for the business-to-business marketing, because that can tell you a lot of information the librarians tell me. Go ahead and check it out. Okay, we're halfway. We've done quick references, how to background yourself on topics, countries, and businesses. And if you want to take a quick break, do that and come back. Next, we're going to do backgrounding well-known people, statistics, poll results, political facts, and the media. Welcome back. Let's talk about how to background well-known people. The Leadership Library is best for people who've worked in government. So let's say you wanted to find a little bit of information about Brad Gentile, who's the new Chief of Staff to Congressmember Katko. Check out the Leadership Library and note, who has Mr. Gentile worked for before? Again, another question your prof might ask you in the next class. Well, I hope you found that was interesting about Mr. Gentile. Another place to get biography on people is the Biography Reference Center with a link here. For example, maybe somebody says Henry Cisneros is coming to SU and you have no clue who Henry Cisneros is. Take a look and see if you can find out some background on him. Our 7th way of searching is to look for demographics or statistics. The U.S. Census has quick facts, and it's really important if you're a reporter here to understand some of the demographics of this region. So check out the Census Quick Facts. You'll go by state, and then you can go by city or county, looking at the pull-down menus at the top of the page. Find out the percentage of African Americans or blacks in Syracuse compared to Onondaga County, and keep those notes for your next class. Hope you found that interesting. There's quite a disparity between the two. I've also listed here some federal statistics, some statistical data sets that are great if you're into data viz, and another place, ProQuest Statistical Insights. Lots of polls go on, and sometimes those can be helpful for context in a story. So if you want to check out any polls, I recommend iPoll or Polling the Nations. And it's fun just to go tool around there. Sometimes you can find an interesting story idea based on what respondents have said in a recent poll. Okay, we're on 9 now. Ever hear something from a politician and wonder if that's really true? The SU Library staff has put together a great fact-checking list, so make a note of this if you ever need to check political facts in particular. And finally, maybe you're wondering what media opportunities there might be in your home market or in another market where you might be this summer. SRDS is an advertising database that advertisers use to know how much it's going to cost to put commercials on a particular station or in a newspaper. But they have a radio section, a TV section, and a cable section. And here's what it looks like. You could go use this same information advertisers use to get some information about stations or media organizations at home. Use this area to pick your media. And here I've picked TV stations, and then you can see I have Syracuse, and over on this side then it shows me all the TV stations, and if you click on each station you can find some basic information out about that station. So it's a great place to do a little research when you're thinking about internships or even jobs. Okay, we have done 10 quick online resources. I hope you feel that you know a little bit more about how to search and you have content and information that can really help you pitch an angle, focus a story, have questions for interviewees, or have some facts to tuck into a story. Anytime, you can always come back to this webpage if you forget the specific sites, and they'll all be listed here and they'll be updated. Remember also, finally, that we have a research portal, nccnewslinks.syr.edu, with lots of great information by beats, and of course over at the right are all the links you need to the various resources we use in BDJ. And then finally, I hope you will follow me at Ready Reporter and look at my blog at readyreporter.syr.edu. I'm always updating that with new online resources and other tips for reporters to help you work quicker, better, and smarter.